Welcome back to the final installment in the Naruto and networking series. Using Naruto and other anime characters from time to time, I like to discuss the basics of networking, basically discussing the key elements of it, helping people that are trying to transition into tech that maybe are already in it, but they're studying for certifications and things, and they're trying to get these basic concepts down. Just wanted to help with visualizing the whole concept. So that was the point of this 3-point series. It's not super in depth. It's definitely not like a super complex engineering level type of thing. We'll only cover the fundamentals just to see if it makes sense to you, see if it was helpful to any degree. And if you guys want me to keep this type of series going, maybe change, the anime comparisons and things like that, or just to be more diverse, go ahead and give me that feedback in the comments below, and we'll see what I do in the future. But again, welcome to the third and final installment in the series. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Let's go ahead and get started. All right, so we've already defined what networking is, network. We didn't really talk about like the more, hardware components of a network in terms, like traditionally speaking, as far as hubs, switches, routers, / gateways, and all those things. We didn't really touch on those. Not sure if I want to touch on those. I probably will. If you want me to, let me know in the comments below about that as well. But at this point, we now have a basic image and understanding of what a network looks like, how it works, and how we use networking every day. And in terms of professional stuff, why you want to know at least the bare basics of networking if you're trying to transition into the realm of tech today, like many people. So instead of building on the fundamental concept of networking and the way I've been doing the last 2 installments, I decided to wrap it up with a different, more on the rise, if not full blown, just booming version of networking, which is cloud computing. It's also a sector of tech in terms of jobs and things that everyone wants to go into, myself included. I definitely want to go more into cloud and experiment with that. You have AWS, GCP, Azure. Those are the big 3 in cloud computing. You also have IBM and some other ones that are a bit smaller, but also have been created as well to meet that market, because for almost a decade, about 7 or 8 years, Amazon or Amazon Web Services, AWS, was the only cloud computing provider for a long time. I don't know exactly when it started, when it had that monopoly, but no, for quite a while, Amazon didn't have any competition in that realm. Now a bunch of different cloud providers, they're shooting on up, and yeah, the market is getting pretty full. So I wanted to go ahead and touch on that to wrap up the series. Let's go ahead and get started. So first things first, what is cloud computing? Cloud computing talks about or refers to end users that are able to create applications, websites, and or store their data for short or long-term use, start small businesses and whatnot. You can do a lot of things with cloud computing, but basically cloud computing is the concept of the company providing all of the hardware for your data to be stored and applications to be built and a bunch of different things, but you don't have to be responsible for said hardware. It's all for them. So that's why you have, for example, one example of this is cloud storage. This will be things like Google Drive, iCloud, for example, are the 2 main ones that I personally have used. These are storage devices or storage services that you can pay for that allow you to store videos, photos, documents like school assignments. That's the type of stuff you can use it for, right? And it makes it very cheap. It's obviously very affordable, very efficient. Depending on your setup of the cloud environment, you may be only responsible for the data that you upload to the cloud environment, or you might be responsible for a bit more. But that's more in-depth stuff. We're going to keep it very simple today. Now that you have a good understanding of what cloud computing is, just at a basic level, a high level, what are some of the key benefits that it offers? Hence, why is it blowing up? The main benefit to using cloud computing is it frees up the resources on your own computer, whether it's storing data, running multiple applications at a time for gaming, doing homework, productivity stuff, things like that, video editing. It allows you to free up computer resources. Now, before we move on, I want to clear up the term resources. For anyone that's not aware, when you're talking about computing and you're talking about resources, you're talking about the components of the computer that you use to do different things. Again, like gaming, writing essays, and things like that. When you're talking about resources, example of these would be CPU or central processing unit, which is essentially the brain of the computer that actually does the processing when you're running, a video editing app or a music production app, things like that. Or you're talking about RAM. RAM, basically, how many different things can a computer do at one time before it starts to glitch and possibly even shut down and crash? For example, go to any popular anime. I'm pretty sure, especially like shonen anime, of course, like the real big name ones, I'm pretty sure you can find at least one scene where you have a super smart character that's explaining something to the main character that more times than not is like a dummy, usually, or just not that bright. And when they start using big words and using numbers and all this stuff, and it's like overload, and then boom, and you have the smoke like coming out of their ears. It's kind of like that with RAM. And then another key one that people usually refer to is storage, especially when it comes to expandable storage. This is something that, for those who remember, before you've gotten to tech, if you didn't understand it at the time, there's a constant argument between Android and iPhone, always has, probably always will be. And one of the key components, or one of the key arguments to that argument of what's better, is that Android phones typically allow expandable storage. What they mean is, when you take videos, when you take photos, you have storage that's already built into your phone, but it's only so much. You're storing all that stuff locally. You're storing all that stuff in the storage part of your phone, but you can't add, say, like a SD card into it so that it's expandable storage, has additional storage from a third party, from another source, an external source. Androids allow you to do that. That's why a lot of people say that Android's better. And iPhone, which I have, I'm in the Apple economy, iPhone doesn't have expandable storage. I can't put in a memory card, a SD card into my iPhone, and now all of a sudden I have 2 terabytes of additional storage. I can't do that. So that's why a lot of people feel like iPhone is the weaker brand of the two, just to give you a good example. But those are some of the main examples of computer resources that people talk about. So now that we have that out the way, you have a good understanding of what computer resources are, just a few of them. Why is cloud computing booming? Why is it blowing up? So the main thing, just to piggyback off what I just said earlier, the resources that you use on your computer for storage, processing, for RAM and video editing, music editing, whatever it is you're doing, it gets offloaded from that computer, meaning the computer doesn't have to expend energy like the way we humans would do. You can still do the work, but now when it comes to the storage of your computer, you may have 2 terabytes inherently built into your laptop, but you don't have to use any of it if you store your documents and things in AWS or Google Cloud, things like that. Then you have all the space in the world. Same thing to a degree with RAM, or if you need a place to store your code, if you're a programmer and you like to program just as a hobby, but you don't want to store your code on your local device, 1, for security reasons, and 2, again, to save storage, then you can store it in the cloud. It saves up room, things like that. In addition to saving computer resources for everyday just computer users and business people at that, the main reason, the actual number one reason why cloud computing is so big, especially AWS, is that it's very cost efficient. You save a lot of money with it. Cloud computing is insanely cheap. I'm talking like you can see prices as low as $0.0015 something cents per gigabyte of data stored in the cloud environment, something like that, like something very insane. Like your monthly bill could be very low instead of you taking up all your storage space on your phone, on your laptop, and now you have to spend, depending on what brand you go with, you may spend maybe 20, 30 something bucks, just throwing numbers out there. Just maybe, let's call it like 60 bucks maybe on an external hard drive. That's a couple terabytes versus, and that's a one-time payment. That's not necessarily bad, but let's say you're a content creator and you just keep making videos over and over and you blow up and you get rich off of it and you make a good amount of money and you do it full time. Yeah, you're going to make hundreds, if not thousands of videos that you're going to just sweep through multiple hard drives. When you can just load them all to a cloud environment, you can allow the company to be responsible for the security of your data. That way, if your data gets breached, it's completely their fault. But that's also a reason why people use external hard drives and things like that, so they don't have to worry about that. So pick your poison. But yeah, because of some of these key reasons, it's very unlikely that cloud is going away. If anything, it's a certainty that's not. It's probably going to be integrated further into our lives, probably into our educational system soon with like college and things like that, so that you have a good skill set and better understanding of what's needed to thrive in the current job market. At this point, even when it comes to things like, I want to say ServiceNow, Salesforce, things like that, like everything is cloud-based, everything. And it's only expanding. I believe Cloudflare is another one. Yeah, you're going to have to learn the cloud fairly well, especially if you want to work in the tech industry. Another reason that cloud computing is super important, especially again, if you're trying to launch, let's say a mobile application or a web app through a cloud provider, is scalability. So scalability or scaling basically means your organization, usually it refers to organizations, but in this case, the resources that you have utilized, that you're utilizing to run your app in the cloud, like load balancers, virtual servers, virtual machines, things like that. When you're talking about scaling them up and down, you're saying, let's say you have a website and the website traffic increases drastically all of a sudden. Like right now we're in peak season. So a lot of people are buying online. A lot of web traffic is increasing. The best thing for you to do would be to set up your cloud environment for your website or web application so that when traffic increases at certain points of the day, the resources that keeps your website or application running just naturally go up with the traffic. And you only have just enough resources to allow the needs of your customers to be met in a satisfactory manner. It's efficient, it's cost effective, and you don't have to worry quite as much about the website just suddenly crashing because so many people are on your website trying to buy things at the same time. At the same time, when that traffic decreases, and it might be later on in the night when it's super late, people are asleep, not as many people are shopping online and things like that, then it's like, okay, we don't need this many resources. We don't need this many load balancers, or you need the load balancer to scale like this. We don't need this many, let's say for AWS EC2 instances to help run the application, things like that. So we can cut the extra ones and only bring it down to the number that we need to keep things running effectively. That's what it means to scale. There's scaling up and down. There's also scaling in and out. And we'll probably cover more of those later if you want to hear about that. So let's get to the Naruto section of this. So how can Naruto help us visualize and understand cloud computing just a bit more? So we're going to go ahead and go with Sage Mode Naruto here. We pretty much moved in a direct line of just his growth and power throughout this series. I didn't even realize it. But yeah, we're going to touch on Sage Mode Naruto here, like we first showed up with Pain. In that scenario, he had mastered Sage Mode, but at the same time, he's not like the best Sage art user, the best nature chakra user, because even to this day in the Boruto age, when he's a full-grown adult, and well, technically Shikamaru's Hokage now, but he's Hokage, he still can't move completely still or stay completely still to gather nature energy. Therefore, he still runs the risk of turning into a stone toad if he takes so much as a single step while trying to gather nature energy. So to circumvent this side effect, he uses, again, his special power of, like we talked about in part 1, which I'll link right here, the shadow clone jutsu. Okay, so cloud computing, we can try to draw a comparison between the way Naruto uses shadow clones for Sage Art and cloud computing. I think we can get this done. So again, the key detail is that with cloud computing, is that the hardware is located somewhere else that you don't see. Like these companies have gigantic data centers or data farms that have all the hardware, all the servers, just everything, right? You do not have to take care of the hardware. You only worry about the data, documents, and things that you upload into their cloud service. That's it. And when you need to get access to it, or if you need to download it so you can print it for whatever reason, you can download it and you can do it that way. But either way, the hardware that you use to store that information, it's out of sight, out of mind. You don't have to worry about that, but it's still doing its job. Naruto's Shadow Clone Jutsu, that way of gathering nature energy for him until he needs it, and then he undoes the jutsu on a single clone at a time, and then that nature energy just goes into him, kind of works in the same way. Again, we're going to talk about how Naruto fought Pain here. When Naruto initially ran out of chakra or nature energy, and he went back to his regular base form, the general idea with Pain was like, okay, well, you lost that special power. You're definitely out of luck. You're not going to win this fight. Only for Naruto to, one, get creative and start absorbing chakra, nature energy, when one of the Pains that, well, I think, do they all absorb chakra? I don't remember. Naruto's main thing with his, when he initially showed up, he was already in Sage Mode. Nature chakra ran out and he had to replenish. His way of replenishing was to stock away 2 or 3 shadow clones at Mount Miyaboku. And then whenever he ran out of nature energy, he would just undo the chakra for one of those clones. And the nature energy that clone gathered would be sent over to him, almost like teleporting it in a way, even though you couldn't see it. And he's back in Sage Mode again. He can put back on a good fight, right? So cloud computing is kind of like that. I guess you would say the provider, power source, whatever you want to say, it's at a distance. Again, outside, out of mind. You're not necessarily responsible for it in terms of being up close and maintaining it, but you are able to access it from a distance. And that's what makes it a very efficient, easy, pretty much comes in clutch, essentially, especially in that fight. That was a pretty clutch fight. right? I'm actually going to shift this. And in a weird way, Pain slash Nagato might be a better example, but at the same time, they're kind of the opposite side of that coin. It's interesting. Hopefully this makes sense. So the same way Naruto was able to stash away multiple clones and they could gather chakra on his behalf, he would undo the jutsu and that chakra would be sent to him. Nagato slash the six paths of pain. Well, first off, Nagato controlled the six paths of pain from a distance, but instead of the six paths, them being the ones doing the hand-to-hand fighting and things, they don't send him chakra. He sends the chakra out to them, which is part of the reason why he was so sickly. There were other reasons, but that definitely contributed to it. But because of this like weird mirror effect, like this mirror version of Naruto's own way of using Sage chakra, he was essentially a living, breathing chakra pool for the six paths of pain when he was using it. And just like with Naruto, and therefore just like the whole cloud computing thing that we're talking about, he didn't have to be very close. Naruto, after he defeated the six paths of pain, more so, was it the Deva path? That was the main one? I forget. But either way, when Naruto defeated the six paths of pain, he decided to track down the actual opponent, Pain, aka Nagato. And he was like, he actually had to travel a fairly good distance away to be able to get in contact with him and then talk no jutsu him into submission and resurrecting all the lives that were taken from the Hidden Leaf Village. Typical Naruto stuff. He doesn't actually he beats people up, but when it comes to finishing it, he just talks. That's his go-to. It is what it is. But like I said, I didn't realize it until I was, developing this topic and writing it out to talk about it and be like, hey, it's interesting. I know Nagato's not the best example to get the concept of cloud computing across, but it's just interesting. And of course it was intentional of how with the Sage Chakra thing and Nagato's six paths of pain thing, like they're literally mirror versions of each other. So I figured why not try to use both to get the basic concept of how you access this, the information, the data and the strength and the power you need, just using all the comparisons and all that stuff. I figured why not try to do that? And hopefully if my way of explaining using Naruto failed, Nagato made more sense. Or you can just consider Nagato a bonus and it's just good nerd conversation because I like talking about this stuff. You know what I'm saying? So hopefully that was helpful either way, guys. I really enjoyed this one. But yeah, guys, hope you guys enjoyed this video. I also hope it was very helpful for you. If you want me to continue this Naruto and networking series or just another version of it, go ahead and let me know in the comments below. Again, throw me any feedback you guys like. I appreciate you for watching this and being here with me. I really enjoyed making this series, man. It was very fun, allowed me to be somewhat creative. It was my first time like doing something like this. So yeah, man, I really hope you guys not only enjoyed the nerding out part of it, but also like actually for those like studying for certifications and you need the stuff for jobs and just the basic concepts. And again, if you want me to continue, we can keep building up this stuff over time. But yeah, man, I hope it also was very informative as much as it was fun. So, all right, guys, I'll go and leave it at that. Again, thank you for being here. Throw any comments or feedback in the comment section down below. I appreciate you, and I'll see you next time. Peace.